which will be addressed by our esteemed guest, Dr. Asifullah Khan. Dr. Asifullah Khan has more than 24 years of teaching and research experience and is working as professor in PIAS. He has been awarded the President's Award for Pride of Performance for 2018. In the year 2020, 21, 22, he has been entitled in the world's top 2% scientist by Stanford University.
In addition, he has received 4 HEC Outstanding Research Awards and 1 Best University Teachers Award. In the field of artificial intelligence, he has published 120 international journals, which equates to 7,300 citations, 55 conferences, and 8 book chapter publications. He has successfully supervised 24 PhD scholars. Dr. Asifullah Khan has won 8 research grants as principal investigator. He has been actively involved in the fields of machine learning and especially deep learning. He is currently working as head of PIAS Artificial Intelligence Center.
We now invite the professor in the Department of Computer and Information Sciences in PIAS, Dr. Asifullah Khan.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So my talk is about deep convolutional neural networks and its applications. Myself, Professor Asifullah Khan from PIAS. The outline of this talk is as such that we are going to discuss basics of machine learning, deep learning, and then what is deep convolutional neural networks, the basics of deep convolutional neural networks, in different types, and then how do we use deep convolutional neural networks in image analysis, and some of my recent work. So part 1 is basics of machine learning and deep learning. Very briefly, we all know that artificial intelligence is, roughly speaking, is a program that can sense, reason, act, and adopt, while machine learning is a subfield of AI, so whereby we say algorithms whose performance improve as they are exposed to more data over time. So what it means that machine learning basically learns through examples from the data. And then deep learning is a subset of machine learning in which we say multi-layer neural networks learn from vast amounts of data. So what is machine learning? Very briefly, it's a type of artificial intelligence that provides computers with the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. That is, it learns from the examples, from the data. So it has 2 phases, the training phase and the test phase. In training phase, we give it labeled data to the machine learning algorithm, and once it is learned, it gives us the learn model. Now, that learn model is tested in the test phase, and for that reason, we give it unlabeled data. We call it unseen data, and it's going to give us prediction. But when we talk about complex problems, big data problems, so you need to know that conventional machine learning algorithms are not that much successful as far as the big data problems are concerned, or the complex problems are concerned. So what we say is that complex problems demand higher level of learning, and that's where deep learning comes in. So very briefly, what is deep learning? It's a type of ML that is more suitable for big data application, that is complex problems. And due to its deep and hierarchical learning mechanism, can often produce more accurate result than the traditional ML techniques. So what is deep learning? The basic concept are as such, like we say that a deep neural network, it consists of a hierarchy of layers where each layer transforms the input data into more abstract representation for the output layer to make prediction. So for example, we can see that over there, visual cortex of human brain is shown, okay? And it is also based on such hierarchical learning mechanism. And the same is mimicked in deep convolutional neural networks. So we see over here that an image of cat is given, and there are layers of neurons. So in the initial layer, we extract very low level, you can say very rough features, and then in the mid layer, we extract the mid-level features, and then in the last layers, we extract the high level, or we call it the abstract level features, and then we classify. So when we talk about neural networks, so just to give you a glimpse of neural networks, so basically we have artificial neurons, okay, which mimic the biological neurons. So they are just mathematical functions, simple mathematical functions. But when we combine these neural networks, and that too in form of a network, so they are able to learn very complex functions. So we say that a collection of simple mathematical units performing complex functions. So you can see that we have the input layer, and then in between a hidden layer, and then an output layer. So here we have shown only one hidden layer. So assume, just imagine, what if we have 100 or 1,000 of such hidden layers? So how complex the network would be, and how complex the interactions among these neurons would be. So generally we say that as we increase the depth of the neural network, the depth means the number of hidden layers, its representation ability. Representation means representing the data distribution, the input data distribution. Its representation ability increases, but this is not hard and fast. So mostly we say that by increasing depth, its representation ability increases. A collection of simple So we say that when we increase the depth of the neural network, its representation ability increases. So now you would know that there is a boom in deep neural networks, and there are very different types of deep neural networks. We say the most important one, deep convolutional neural networks, which are very suitable for image processing and computer vision related tasks. And then there are deep autoencoders, so they are sort of compressing things and then decompressing. Okay? And then deep belief networks, which are based on Boltzmann statistics. And then generative adversarial neural networks, so whereby we have sort of two adversaries, the generator and the discriminator, and they try to basically learn from each other in a sort of cycle. And then recurrent neural networks, so physically they are recurrent connections, backward connection in these neural networks. And you would have heard of LSTM, which is a very famous type of neural network architecture. Then transformers. Transformer itself is a neural network architecture based on the concept of autoencoder. But it's so famous that not only in natural language processing, but also even in computer vision and other applications, it is being used. And we see almost every day new variants of transformer and birds, and again there are new versions. So my focus would be to discuss deep convolutional neural networks. We call them CNN. So convolutional neural networks, CNNs, are feed-forward neural networks. They are simple feed-forward neural networks. And their attribute is that they dynamically learn the domain-specific representation. So there is no need, in image processing we say there is no need of manual descriptors or masks. And that's why we say they are sort of dynamic learning mechanism. They are going to learn the descriptor by themselves through iterative training. And it exploits spatial correlation. So wherever there is spatial correlation in the image, we know that image content has correlation among the different object areas. So it exploits that particular correlation in images. And that's why we say it is good for images and computer vision applications. The other attribute of CNN is that CNN hierarchically learns representation. As we discussed earlier, that even in human brain, in visual cortex, so there is hierarchical learning mechanism. So the same is mimicked by CNN. So whereby we say that low layers they learn generic features, while higher layers, they learn the domain-specific features. And over there, we are given an example of a convolution kernel. So basically, this kernel shows the coefficient of a neuron, whereby it has links with the previous neurons. Let's suppose 3 by 3 kernel, so links with 9 neurons. And when we put this kernel on the patch of the image, okay, we get a resultant pixel. And then we move this particular kernel throughout the image row by row, okay, and we get a new image, which we call as the feature map. So this is like operating one single neuron on image and getting a feature map. What if we have 100 neurons in a single layer? So we would be getting 100 feature maps. And then imagine if we have 100 or 1,000 layers of neurons in a particular neural network. So deep convolutional neural network shown in sort of 3D form. So we say that we have image, and we have convolution layers, then pooling layers, then convolution layer, then again pooling layer. But it's not hard and fast. So convolution layers, whereby convolution operator operates, is necessary, but pooling is not necessary. Pooling is meant for sort of summarization. And then at the end, we flatten the particular layers, and we get the fully connected layers and sort of softmax for classification. So this particular portion, we say that this is the feature extraction stage. At the end, we have the classification stage or detection stage. And you can see that in the initial layers, we detect low-level features like edges. In intermediate layers, we detect intermediate-level features like object parts. And in the higher layers, we detect higher-level features. And then probably the whole object is being classified. So now, coming to the applications of CNN in image processing, we know that CNNs have been rigorously used for image processing related tasks, such as very simple tasks, noise removal, image deblurring, image annotation, removing blur, haze, rain, etc. Just to give you a few examples. So this is an application of image denoising using GAN architecture, and GAN, generative adversarial neural network, could also be applied using CNN. So here we see that on left side we have the ground truth, on the right side we have the GAN generated or deblurred image, and you can see that there is very minor difference as compared to the noisy image. Okay, so from this noisy image we again sort of estimate denoise the image through GAN. Then this is an example of deblurring. You see that it is deblurred, okay, and then we can visually see the content of the image very clearly. Automatic image captioning. Now this is very interesting problem. So imagine that if we have millions or billions of images in a data set, and we are asked to annotate those images, like what is in the image, sort of writing a summary of each image content. So very tedious job for a human being. But they trained deep CNN because CNN is good for image understanding, so they use CNN, and then in order to express what the CNN has learned from the image, that is the image content, so we did need natural language processing. For that purpose, they used language generating recurrent neural network. So see, in combination these two, the deep CNN and the RNN, what they generate about the image content. So they were given millions of images in training, and then they were asked to comment on unseen images. So you can see that this image was provided as unseen image, and what is the comment or annotation of that particular model. So it says, a group of people shopping at an outdoor market. There are many vegetables at the fruit stand. So even they understand that there is a fruit stand, okay, and there are many vegetables. So the machines now are becoming even more intelligent, we could say. What about this image? You see, its annotation is like a close-up of a child holding a stuffed animal. So even they know that this particular object that the child is holding is a stuffed animal. So, now applications of CNN in computer vision. Computer vision related application using CNN, so classification, object detection, you might know, scene segmentation, generative models, that is GANs are used very much, 2D to 3D reconstruction, image to text and vice versa. So let's see these applications. So over here we have like classification, object detection and scene segmentation example. We see that images are automatically classified, like suppose in cat and dog, then objects are detected within the image. Objects are even segmented within the image. And similarly again, bounding box based object detection over there. This is very interesting example that just by taking the video, that is the different frames from different perspective, and we can actually generate a 3D reconstruction. So from 2D domain, we basically go to 3D reconstruction, 3D domain using GAN neural networks. Another text to image, this is even more interesting that nowadays GANs are trained in such a way that you give them just some tips in text form. Like for example, it is written over here, an astronaut riding a horse in a photorealistic style. So you are asking it to produce sort of this particular image, you are just giving it text. And look at the image that it has produced. So given text prompt, generate novel images based on text. And what happens here? The same thing is being asked, but as a pencil drawing. So see the change in the image. And then we say that autonomous cars you have, I think, heard of it many times. So we said CNNs are used for environment understanding in autonomous cars, including 3D object detection, path planning, obstacle avoidance, lane detection, and even multi-view understanding. So we see right below we have the original images coming in, and then using CNN and GANs, it gives us the 3D view of those particular objects moving around. So, when we come to co-research in CNNs, in deep neural networks and especially in CNNs, so there are two main parts of neural networks. One is the architecture of the neural network, and the other thing is the learning methodology or the optimization strategy of that particular network. We need to optimize the weights in order to reach the near optimal, say, minimum in the error space. So research is going on in both these directions. What we are doing is focusing on architectural innovations in CNN. And I'm going to talk about some of the recent architectures and then our own architectures that we basically reported a few years ago, and some of our recent research work as well. So, architectural innovations in CNN, we see there was a competition of making, once it was known that by making the architecture deep, it can learn complicated problems. So there was a competition by coming up with deep architecture, because the hardware is also very advanced. We have the concepts of like GPUs and mini supercomputers even tailor-made for deep neural networks. So there was a competition of making the neural network deep, but then they came to know, they observed that this is not always true. So when you make it deep, there are some other problems that start occurring. So they came with different concepts like multi-path CNN. So using, we call it the split, transform, and merge. So this is just a one block. There could be 100 or 1,000 of such blocks. Okay? So we split, we use different kernels, different filters, and extract different information, and then again we merge. So this is just one block, and this block could be repeated many times. Then we have bypass pathways concept. Okay, so there are many paths coming in from the previous layers, and many information to the current layer being passed. Then there was concept of squeeze and excitation net. Now this is not a whole net. This is just one block of a net, like a brick that you can put in a wall. Okay, so just one block, and they said that this is squeeze and excitation block, whereby transforming the different feature maps to another layer. Before that, you rank the different feature maps, and then give it to the next block or next layer, so that the processing is made easier for the coming block. And then one of our own CNN architecture, we called it channel boosted CNN. We proposed this architecture about 2 years ago, and now it has many variants, and people are researchers are taking very interest in this concept. This was about enhancing the representation capacity of the net by giving it artificial channels created through transfer learning. So we called it boosted channel because in addition to the original input channel, what we have is boosted channel or auxiliary channel artificially created through transfer learning, okay, in order to extract different aspects from the input, and then these channels are combined and given to the main backbone of the CNN architecture. So again, probably it's not that much visible, but channel boosted CNN. So channel boosting is a new idea to further enhance the representation capability of deep CNN by generating diverse input channels, mainly through the concept of transfer learning, and the combination of the original and auxiliary channel thus boosts the learning capability of the CNN. So in 2019, there were many architectures as far as CNN is concerned were reported, but there was no taxonomy of the different architectures. And myself and my PhD students, we came with this idea that why not write a survey paper and sort of categorize these different CNN architectures. And we were able to come up with this survey in about like 1.5 years, and then it took even more time in publication. It was published in a very good journal, Springer Journal, Artificial Intelligence Review. Impact factor something about like 8. And right now, even in the space of 2 years, you would say that it has been cited more than 1570 times, almost 1600 times. And 82 citations of these 1600 are from books and proceedings. And we are receiving emails from many different students in different universities internationally that they are being asked to basically start with this paper as a review paper, understand the basic concept of CNN, the history of CNN, the different types of CNN, and how would you categorize the different architectures of CNN. And then they are asked to start their research work in CNN. So, I gave you a very interesting example of CNN. Now I would like to focus on my own research. So just to give you a hint of what are the different types of research works that we are carrying out and recently carried out. So some of our research works related to deep neural networks in medical image processing, like breast cancer analysis using histopathology images, lymphocyte detection in histopathology images, physical intrusion detection. This work we recently carried out in collaboration with AI Tech, one of our students who worked on it. Then brain tumor analysis using MRI images, COVID detection and analysis using CT images, shoulder muscle segmentation. This work has been carried out in collaboration with a hospital of South Korea. They gave us this data and we gave our segmentation model based on CNN to them. Then one of our very interesting work, which is based on deep reinforcement learning, is autonomous drone navigation and multi-target tracking with island policy-based optimization tool. So drone swarm, you know that very difficult to control drone swarm and especially control its navigation path and obstacle avoidance. So when we gave multi-target to the drone, so it was sort of confused which target to follow. And then we came up with this idea we sort of make islands and split the drone swarms in different groups. And once the targets are found or they are sort of aggregated, so it can combine. Okay, so this idea is very much being followed by researchers. This work is recently published in IEEE. Then we also have been working in cybersecurity. We are using AI in different aspects of cybersecurity, like in malware analysis, like in ransomware, which is a special type of attack, cyber attack. And recently, we have also started working in NLP and AI, whereby we are developing chatbot. For example, I taught a basic course to BS student. So thereby, even in that course, we created this particular app whereby we are using variants of transformer as neural network and the concept of NLP. So this particular app is going to basically converse with the students. So the student asks questions and it is going to answer through the knowledge base. A suitable mapping of the query and answer is being performed. So I'm not going to discuss all of these in detail, just the upper three. The colored one I'm going to discuss very briefly. So deep CNN and medical image analysis. So just to give you a taste of what we are doing in a little detail. So a number of deep CNN based models have been successfully applied in several medical images related tasks like cancer analysis, COVID detection. So see tumor, no tumor, or even multi-classification of tumor, like different types of tumor being detected. And then COVID detection as well as segmentation of that particular area. So the first work is mitosis analysis for breast cancer detection using histopathology images. It's a very interesting work. Now, why mitosis? Mitosis basically is the cell sort of concept of cell division. So whereby there is uncontrolled cell division, we normally say that there might be cancer. So it's a sort of prognostic or predictive measure of cancer. So we say mitosis count is used as a prognostic measure. It determines tumor aggressiveness and gives us idea about patient response towards treatment, and even we can help in decision of chemotherapy. So classical histopathology workflow, it's a patient, we do initial screening like X-ray or CT based, and if there is some problem, so biopsy is taken, and we study that particular tissue sample under the slide. We call it tissue slide. It's a very big image, we call it the whole image, maybe 50,000 by 50,000. And then the pathologist basically analyzes this whole slide image. So very tedious work. And then he comes up with a report. So what if we automate this process? Why? Because there are certain limitations as far as the pathologists are concerned in this manual procedure. First, pathologists manually count mitosis on a glass slide under a microscope. Expertise and experience required, extremely laborious work, time consuming, error prone, there are some subjective measures. So why not automate this particular workflow? So nowadays we have digital scanners, we get the whole slide image, we take the region of interest, machine learning model is trained, and it is going to detect us and analyze the tissue with the cancer. So I just wanted to show that one of our custom-made, you can say, CNN architecture that we proposed has by far given us one of the topmost results. So what we do over here, we have the breast histo image, we take patches, and then you see that we have 5 different CNNs. All of these CNNs are custom made, and we propose it in order to extract different knowledge from the image. And then we give the concept of meta learner or meta classifier. Over there you can see meta classifier. So all the individual CNNs give their predictions as well as the original features are given to the meta classifier, and the meta classifier is going to decide about the image part.